Hey folks, this video is an excerpt from a larger video I'm currently working on. All I do is I show you how to make a warming fire, a long log fire, barehanded with no axe, saw, or knife, just using basic knowledge of materials in the woods. I hope you like it. Alright, so I got a spot here. Looks like a good spot to, it's a natural shelter. Right, it's a fallen tree that recovered and started growing. Right? So you got something against your back here. This is a good place to set up a little, spot to, take a break or even spend the night if you had to. You could rig it up into a lean-to without a lot of work. So I'm going to get a fire going right over there, and just need a few things to get it done. So let's go see if we can find those things. This looks perfect, and it's available. So I got this nice, that's about 6 inches diameter at the base. And I got this fantastic, this is dead maple here. That's great wood if it's dry, which it looks like it's fairly dry. I got this nice big piece of dead maple here. I'll be able to break that whole thing off just with my physical strength. So I think this will be enough to really do the bulk of it. And there's plenty more materials around, okay? Yeah, but this is our base materials right here. So let me just bring this back to the spot, and then I'll show you what I do next. Okay, so here's what I've gathered so far, and almost all of this is from one spot. And I thought a good way to show you, just to give you a sense of what's required in wandering around. Okay, I'm going to pace out from this is where I'm going to make my fire. Right, there's my walking stick. Just going to pace out how far I had to walk to find this. And then I'm just going to pace out some other things to show you how far I had to wander to find that. Again, I'm in a real wild forest. Not a campground, not my backyard. All right, let's go here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, not a straight line. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, so 23 yards from my fire spot. This is where I got all that dead maple, and there's still a little bit more here. Right? It's not prom firewood, but dead maple is always good if you can find it. Okay, here we are back at the fire spot. Now, let me show you how far I got to go to get my primary kindling, which is going to be birch bark. Birch bark and other stuff, but the finest stuff is birch bark. There's a birch bark tree. Not a great one, but that's a birch bark tree. There's a birch bark tree. Lots of birch bark there. There's a birch bark tree. There's a birch bark tree. You get my point. Lots of birch bark around. Okay, let's go back to the fire lighting spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yards. Okay, now let's find other burning materials. I want to make, I got a lot of stuff to make a nice warming fire here. Not enough to last me all night, but let's say I'm just cold and I want to warm up. That's enough pretty much right there. But let's say I want more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's something right there. Not nothing. 10, 11, 12, 13. There's something right there. Good stuff. 14, 15, 16. There's something right there. I can rip that out of the ground with my bare hands. 14, 15. There's something right there. Another tree that I can knock over easily. Right next to it, a tree. It's a tree that I can timber. Look at that. 30-foot tree. I just felled it with my left hand. Right? Right, there's like a good half hour to an hour's worth of fire. Oh my goodness, here's another good tree. Here's another good tree that I can pull down with just my physical strength. Right, anyone, God, a good child could pull this down. Look, there's another one. I'm walking a straight line here. There's another one. Bone dry. Right? What's that? About 12 footer. I'll take that back. And I could keep doing this. I could keep doing this all day. Okay? You know, it's one thing if you're at some place that's picked over, right? Like the campground of some survival training course or some contrived situation like this. But if you're actually in the wilderness, there's stuff everywhere because no one's using it, right? The forest is in a perpetual state of growth and decay. And there's always living stuff and there's always dead stuff. And wherever you are, whatever the ecology, there's useful stuff that the ancient people from that place used to make fires without knives, without axes, without saws. All those things are great to have, and it's good to have good knives, it's good to have good axes, and it's good to have good saws. But what's even more good is the knowledge of what to use when you don't have those things. It's always going to make it easier. Now I need some birch bark. I'm just going to go gather that. I don't think I need to film that. You just pull it off the tree. You can use your knife to harvest heavily birch bark. I don't do that. I just take off what comes off easily. I see a birch bark tree over there about 20 yards with some big sheets hanging off of it. That's what I want. Actually, I think I'll put that there. Yeah. Put that there. There. And I basically made like 2 logs out of multiple pieces of wood. Okay, so now I got a basic, you know, long, I think it's called a long log fire. 2 logs parallel with space in between. So I got set up for that, but I just consolidated different pieces of wood I could gather, right? I got a little nest of birch bark over there. That's primary kindling. I got some stuff here to burn, fuel. I got some stuff there to burn, and plenty more stuff in the forest within, you know, 20 paces away. Not a big deal. Now I just need secondary kindling. Okay, so I just want to pace this out to show you how far I have to go to get this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, this just happens to be the direction I walked in. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so now I'm in a thicker, you see that forest there was kind of open. Now I'm in a thicker forest here. Even in the rain, I mean, this stuff will get wet in the rain, depending on the conditions. And I imagine this stuff isn't perfectly dry because we just had rain recently. But it's not going to take me long to gather dry twigs from these lower branches. Right, I'll get a bundle that I can practically, you know, often they say you want a bundle you can hug. Okay, so it's not going to take me long to gather those here. I'm not going to film that because I think you get the idea. Right, you just break off the lower branches, right? That stuff, you got a big enough ball of birch bark, this stuff will ignite. Okay, so I'm going to kill the camera, gather the stuff, and I'll see you back at the fire. We'll get her going. All right, I'm going to start this fire with matches. I've done enough videos with ferro rods to prove that I know how to use a ferro rod. Okay, if you're in an emergency situation and you got matches, you use them. In an emergency situation, you got a Bic lighter, you use it. The reason I like matches, especially for people learning how to make fires, is to try to light the one fire match. It teaches you to find good, it teaches you good fire starting skills, right? The one match fire. So I'm gonna do that here. So we got our birch bark. We got basically an armload of fine stuff here, right? We're gonna put that across here. Hopefully this won't go out when I light it because we got a bit of wind. We'll get this all going, all right? So I got some really fine stuff to put right on top of the birch bark. All right, so let's get this going and see what kind of damage we can do. Now, I mean, this is all easier if you've got something that lights easily, right? I got some wax paper right in my matchbox. I got more in my pocket here. Lots of people bring different things with them, candles, cotton balls with Vaseline, etc., etc., etc. Right? Even in my match case here, I got Q-tips dipped in wax. Right? You light the match, then you light this, and you've got basically a great little candle. And I'm not going to use any of that stuff here. Right? I'm just going to use a match. All right. So let's get her going. Okay, I got fire. Put this on there. That. We get this on top. Hopefully we've got enough birch bark underneath to get this all going. Great thing about this style of fire is that it's hard to smother it, right? Because you got a space underneath. Now that I got all that going, I can start running this stuff perpendicular to it. Doesn't matter that it's not perfectly dry. Right? It'll dry. You see how I'm crisscrossing. That's not as dry as I'd like. I'll put that over there to dry. Notice how I'm not standing still. Notice how I've done very little to coax the fire. You see how quick that started? See how quick that got going, right? We got moisture in the wood. We got less than ideal wood. But we got stuff that's flammable enough to get a fire going, right? If I feel like I'm getting into trouble, I can just scrounge more birch bark from wherever I can get it, right, to sort of blowtorch the fire into burning, right? But here I am, well on my way to a nice warming fire, okay, from nothing. And I've used my bare hands to prepare the wood for this fire. I haven't had to walk more than like 25 yards from where I wanted to have the fire, where I had a natural shelter. And there's, you know, every 50 yards, or, you know, every 100 yards, I can pick a spot and find one I need in a radius of 25 yards and get a fire going. I can feel the heat coming off of this already, right? There's plenty more materials to use to make this fire bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, part of what makes this fire effective is the fire lay. Also, you notice it's winter time. I'm not worried about burning the whole forest down. I don't have to worry about that. The ground's covered in frozen water, right? But what I've got here is the makings of a nice, big, warming fire, right? These logs that I put across will burn in half, and then you add them to the fire. The two logs on the side eventually will catch fire. The whole thing creates its own heat mass, thermal mass, right? And as I'm sitting over here, right, the heat radiates and warms up the wood and the rocks there, right? I can do something like this to affect a place to sit, or just use some spruce boughs or whatever, right? So I can put my back and I'm a good stride away from the fire. Okay, so I got my back against something that's gathering heat from the fire. I'm out of the wind a little bit, right? I can continue to tend this fire and work on it to make it bigger and bigger over time. Looks like it might need a bit of adjustment right now, okay? But yeah, here I've got the makings of an excellent warming fire. It didn't take a lot of time. It didn't take a lot of work. I didn't have to baton anything or make kindling or anything like that. I'm not saying those things aren't useful skills to have, or, you know, I suppose if you've got an odd sense of fun, maybe they're fun. For me, at this stage of my life, I'm 52. I like having a fire in the woods. That's fun. But I want to make it as easy on myself as possible. Finding dead stuff is the way to go. Anyway, I'm just going to tend this fire a little bit and see if I can make it even bigger. Okay, so right now the fire is settled down a little bit, right? All the stuff that burned easily is burned up, and we've got thicker pieces of wood that are slowly getting the moisture driven off of them and igniting. But luckily, you see, I've got this hole here where I can shove things in, right? So it's sort of like cooking the wood above with smaller stuff below, whatever I can just find nearby, right? I'm just continuing to feed things into the hole until you've got this massive, hot, burning pile of, you know, coals and burning wood, right? And then you're continuing to add and add and add and add. Okay, so this isn't a cooking fire for, I mean, you can be if you want to. If you want a big fire, if everybody's cold, got a group of people and you want to make a nice big fire and show everybody what a great woodsman you are, and this is fine for that. But for me, this is a campfire, right? Like, you know, we're getting warm by this thing. This is how you light a fire when you need a fire. You need a big warm fire. I mean, there's lots of different ways to do it, but to me, this is the way to do it. You don't mess around, right? You use what's there. You understand what kinds of wood burn well. You know, I knew that dead spruce burns well. Dead standing fir burns well. Dead standing anything burns well, but except for birch. Dead birch does not burn well at all. It rots. It rots inside the birch bark. Birch bark burns well. Dead maple, excellent firewood. Excellent for cooking, right? Lots of heat. Dead maple, if you can find it, pretty rare. I was just lucky that I found that big dead maple tree and I could just rip it down with my hands. What a find. And I was 25 yards from where I just randomly decided to set up my camp. But if I didn't have those, I would just be using spruce or whatever else I could find. There's lots of things around. You know, I made this fire the way I would make it in a real situation, right? Actually, I would use a Bic lighter normally, but I just used a match to show you that, you know, if you're learning to make fires, if you're developing those skills, I would use matches, because if you can light a one match fire, you know what you're doing. Right, a match basically has enough flame to burn for a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you should be able to find something that'll catch a flame in a 5 count. So using matches teaches you to learn how to find good kindlings, right? Good primary kindlings, like birch bark. But there's other things you can find. Birch tips, not birch tips, spruce tips, fir tips, you know, that sort of evergreen tips are another thing you can use. Different kinds of old man's beard, hay, you know, straw, that sort of thing. There's many things, and just smashed up dead tree wood, if you can find the right tree with the right kind of wood, like this, right? That's basically kindling. Anyway, I got a nice big fire here. I think I've made my point. This is how, when I need a big fire quick, this is how I do it. Okay, because it's easy and it works. All right, and there's many other different ways to make a big fire. You're going to have a range of materials available to you to get the fire going, right? This did not take a lot of work. It went up really quick, right? Piece of cake. All right. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.